What's up YouTube? Fair Time here. Today we have the Endymion deck profile. So this is constructed out of 3 Order the Spellcaster structure decks. Very simple budget deck, easy for anybody to build, and it's actually pretty competitive. So if you saw my review on the Order the Spellcasters, basically I took all of the Pendulum cards out of that, and that's what we're using here. It is amazing because it allows you to essentially always keep a scale going. By running 3 copies of each of the Pendulum monsters, it allows you to keep a scale up, keep Pendulum summoning. So it's awesome. I like it personally. I always loved Pendulum. I like Pendulum better than Synchros, obviously. Synchros and XYZs are okay, but to me Pendulums is easiest. As long as you're running the right ratio of cards, easiest to summon. So we're going to go ahead and dive into this deck profile. Before that though, hit the like button, hit that subscribe with the notification bell so you can get the next video right in your inbox. So starting off here, 3 copies of Endymion, the Mighty Master of Magic. So when he is in the Pendulum scale, his effect reads: you can remove 6 spell counters from your field, special summon this card from the Pendulum zone, and then count the number of cards you control that have a spell counter. Destroy that many cards on the field, and then place spell counters on this card equal to the number of cards destroyed. It does say it's only once per turn, so I can't summon him from the Pendulum zone, place another one in the Pendulum zone, and then do it again. So it is once per turn. Once he's on the field though, is when he becomes pretty awesome as well. And once per turn, when a spell or trap or effect is activated, you can quick effect return a card you control that has a spell counter on it to your hand. And if you do, negate the activation, and destroy it. Then I can place the same number of spell counters that was on the card that you returned to your hand to this card. And while this card has a spell counter on it, it cannot be targeted by card effects, cannot be destroyed by card effects, but when he's destroyed by battle, you get to get a spell card from your deck. So I think that's another reason why I love the Pendulum cards. Multiple effects, awesome cards. So with that, we're going to continue. We're running 3 reflections of Endymion. So this one also has, once again, some great effects. While it's in the Pendulum scale, each time a spell card is activated, you place a spell counter on this card when it resolves. So if it is negated, you won't get a spell counter. So you got to kind of keep that in mind during the game flow of what resolves and what's negated. So it does get a little, when you have this many cards that have this effect on it, it does kind of get a little tedious. But with this card, you can remove 3 spell counters, special summon this card from your Pendulum zone, and a monster from your hand that can place a spell counter on it. So if you have an Endymion in your hand and you don't want to set the scale, and you have this on the field with 3 counters, you can pull this out in the Endymion without having a Pendulum summon. While it's on the field, once per turn, if this card is special summoned, you can target a card your opponent controls and a card you control with a spell counter except this card. Return that card to your opponent's hand and then place those spell counters from that card on this card. When this card with a spell counter is destroyed by battle, you can add an Endymion card from your deck to your hand. So, great card. Basically, if you Pendulum summon it, you get to run its effect. Awesome. We're going to run 3 Magisters of Endymion. So Magister, I feel like his effects aren't as good. He's just really good because he does run a level 8 scale. So for him, I'm not really running too concerned with his effects. He's basically there to run the scale. We're going to run 3 copies of Magical Abductor. Same as the rest when it's in the Pendulum zone. Spell card is activated, place a spell counter on this card. You can remove 3 spell counters once per turn from this card. Add a Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand. So you can remove 3 from her, get your Endymion. Or, you know, get the Master of Endymion to run your scale. Now, also for Magical Abductor, while it's on the field, it has the same effect as each time a spell is activated, it gets a counter, but for each spell counter on it, it gains 100 attack points. And once per turn, I can remove 3 spell counters and add a Spellcaster monster from my deck to my hand. A level 1. So we only have 1 level 1 Spellcaster in this deck. We'll go ahead and pull that out now. That is Drolling Lockbird, hand trap. This card is added, if a card is added from the main deck to your opponent's hand, except during the draw phase, discard this card from your hand. For the rest of this turn, cards cannot be added to either player's main deck to their hand. So, awesome card for anytime your opponent is searching out cards. Basically stops them dead in their tracks unless they negate it. As long as they don't negate it, they are done for that turn. But that's also why we're running 3 copies. It's an awesome card. And the Magical Abductor allows you to bring it out of your deck to your hand. So, rounding off the pendulums, we got 2 more. We have Mythical Beast Medusa. Once again, not necessarily running the Mythical Beast Medusa's effects per se, more or less using it as a scale setter or link dumpage is what I call it, link dumpage. For the last one, we're going to run 3 Servants of Endymion. So basically the same thing. If a spell card is activated, you place a spell counter on this card. You can remove 3 spell counters from this card and special summon this card from your Pendulum Zone and 1 monster from your deck with 1,000 more attack points. So that's basically everybody but Servant of Endymion. So if this card is destroyed while it's in the monster zone, you can place it in your Pendulum Scale zone and place the same amount of spell counters I had on it. So if you do have it summoned on the field with a spell counter on it, this one can attack directly. And if it's destroyed, you can place it in your scale. Alright, so that is the Pendulum monsters for this deck. Now as you can see, this ratio here allows you to keep scale going. We're going to run 3 of the original Endymion Master Magicians. So he's awesome. Once again, you can either Pendulum Summon him if you have a scale. If not, you can special summon this card from your hand or graveyard by removing 6 spells from the Magical Citadel of Endymion. If he is special summoned that way, target a spell in your graveyard and add that target to your hand. Here's where I feel his best effect is. Once per turn, I can discard a spell card, target 1 card on the field, and destroy it. So it's awesome. Especially we are running about 15 spell cards. So you're most likely going to have a spell, at least 1 or 2 in your hand. Discard it, pop anything on your opponent's side of the field. Now next is some of the extra cards we're running, and they kind of fit the bill because they're Spellcasters, so they can be searched with a couple of the Endymion cards, but Palladium Oracle Mahad and a Dark Magician. So Palladium Oracle Mahad, you can search him out with those guys, but he's best because if he's drawn, you can reveal him to your opponent, special summon him to the field. If he battles a dark monster's attack is doubled to 5,000, and when he's destroyed by battle or card effect, I can special summon a Dark Magician from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So just 2 good monsters to have out on the field, and they kind of fit the bill too because they're both Spellcasters. Alright, as far as spells go, the bread and butter of this deck. Now I ended up having to run a few less than I wanted to, just to kind of fit the deck size I wanted. So obviously we're going to run a Magical Citadel of Endymion, Terraforming to search it, but then Endymion's Lab as well. Endymion's Lab is great because technically when it's on the field, its name becomes Magical Citadel of Endymion, so it fits the bill for special summoning an Endymion. But each time a spell or trap card is activated, you place a spell counter on it, when it resolves, and once per turn after damage calculation, if a spellcaster monster is destroyed by battle, I can remove 6 spell counters from this card, or from this field, from your field. Special summon a level 7 or higher spellcaster monster from your hand or deck. So it kind of allows you to get some extended play there. We're running 2 Spell Power Grasps. Amazing card. Target a face-up card, add a spell counter to it. Which, this card's awesome. Then you can search out another Spell Power Grasp. So then it resolves. You essentially gets 2 spell counters on your monsters for the ones that gain a spell counter for activating a spell. So it's a great card. It's essentially a 2 spell counter combo. Then we're going to run 2 Spell Power Masteries. So this allows you to add an Endymion card from your deck to your hand. So any of them. Any of the Pendulum monsters or Endymion himself. Then you can count the number of Spell Power Masteries and Spell Power Grasps you have in control or in the graveyard. Place that many spell counters amongst the cards you control, and then place the spell counter on them. And then you can only activate 1 per turn. So, unfortunately, it does have a soft stop there. But if you've already used 1 per turn, if you use both your Spell Power Grasp, that's essentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spell counters on a card. So it's just a way to kind of bump up your spell counters. You're gonna run 2 Spellbook of Powers. So Endymion, the boss card in here, has 2,800 attack points. So where this deck is gonna run into some minor problems are a lot of those newer Link monsters that are running about 3,000 attack. Your Borreload, your Boral Swords, your Archfiend, your Red Hot Archfiends, monsters like that run around 3,000 attacks. So it's like Endymion's awesome, but he's still kind of lacking in the attack department. So Spellbook of Power is awesome. It gives him an extra 1,000 attack points. You can search out a Spellbook card if he destroys a monster. So it definitely allows him to bump up his power, which the next card, Spellbook Secrets, allows us to search for a Spellbook of Power or Spellbook of Knowledge. You can send either a spellcaster monster you control or one other spellbook card from your hand or face up on the field except Knowledge, and if you do, draw 2 cards. So just good. It's kind of like Pot of Greed, but you got to drop a card to use it. Everybody loves getting extra cards. And we're going to run a Pot of Duality. Activate the top 3 cards, add 1 from your deck, add 1 to your hand, shuffle the rest back into your deck. You cannot special summon during the turn you activate this card. So you got to be careful when you use this, because you use this, you can't Pendulum summon and you can't Link summon that turn. So it's a really good main phase 2 card to kind of set up your next turn so you're not essentially slowing your own board down. For the last spell card, I'm pretty sure I said this in my hero deck profile, I'm running 1 Power of the Guardians. So Power of the Guardians, favorite card on the field, favorite card in the game for now, spell card wise. 500 attack and defense for each time the monster attacks or gets attacked. If the monster is going to be destroyed by card effect or battle, you can remove a counter from it, protect your monster. You'll still lose battle damage, but you can keep the monster out for extra play. And to finish off, we're running very few traps. Being a spellcaster deck, it's very spell heavy. Pun on that. So we're running very few traps. We're going to be running 1 Pitch Black Power Stone. So when it's activated, it gets 3 spell counters, and once per turn, you can take a spell counter off and put it on something else. So something else you're trying to get spell counters built up on so you can use them. It's a good thing to get you extra spell counters. We're going to be running 1, I'm going to screw it up, Ga Shield. Target spellcaster monster you control, equip it. Twice per turn, it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. So if you can get out Endymion and drop this on him, it kind of keeps from him getting popped by your opponent's special effects, monster effects. And then finally, everybody's most hated card, Mirror Force. I wanted to run multiple copies of Mirror Force, but I didn't, just to kind of keep the card count down to keep the consistency, so you could keep the Pendulum cards flowing. So with Master Rule 5 and Link monsters coming out, Pendulum cards, when they're destroyed by battle, they go to the extra deck face up. Without a Link monster, you can only summon one at a time because you can only have that one extra zone. So we are going to run 3 copies. Daybreaker, the Shining Magical Warrior. He's pretty good. He only takes 2 Spellcasters, which is easy to get with Pendulum. If he is Link summoned, place a spell card on it. He gains 300 attack for each spell counter. And you can activate one of these effects once per turn. If a spellcaster is special summoned to the zone it points to, add a spell counter. And if I want to, I can remove 2 spell counters, target a card on the field, and destroy it. So, if you've got a lot of face-up Pendulum monsters, and you have, you know what I'm saying, you can, if you can link him off while you still have the ability to Pendulum summon that turn, you can link him off, pop two Pendulum monsters to the zones he points to. He now has 3. He'll have 3 spell counters. His attack gets boosted 300 points for each. So it makes him a good beat stick, and then gives you that ability that following turn to ditch spell counters to destroy a unfortunate opponent's card. So that is it for the Endymion deck. Now, as I said, this deck is competitive as it is. It could definitely, I mean, any deck can always use some buff ups and changes. This deck did pretty well in my local tournament. For a budget deck, that is. So that is it for Endymion.